So in chat, I'm going to paste this link and send it to you. So if you check chat in Zoom, you'll see this same link, but I'll also include it on the assignment document. What we want to explore today is basically a way to manually automate Windows updates. And the native command or utility for doing this can be a little confusing because there's two versions of DISM. So the DISM is there's a command line version, and so this tool has been around an awful long time, and basically it allows you to take updates and inject them straight into an ISO. So if we have an ISO like Windows Server, and we look at this, it's a container, it's a disk container. The ISO file is an install image. And basically there's an organized and methodical way that you have to post changes to the file set inside the disk image. But the short version of why this is so beneficial is that when you use that media, the ISO, to install other server or Windows 10 operating systems, you don't have to run updates as soon as you install. And typically what happens is that you install a new version of an operating system, and then you have to install updates, and then you have to install updates for the updates, and then updates for the updates for the updates. And in terms of automating and streamlining operating system deployment, this is an important method. It's one of the most important methods, and it's been around a long time. I've told you that there are two flavors of DISM, one that runs in the command line, and there's another one that runs within PowerShell. And you'll notice here that I've started this command prompt with administrative privileges. That's really important to understand. A lot of things will misfire for important maintenance utilities if they're not executed with the appropriate level of privilege. So you need to be logged in as a member of an administrator group. So this is an account with administrative privileges. And then on top of that, you also need to start the command prompt or the PowerShell session by right-clicking and going into the option to run as administrator, right? So as you run as administrator, if you're looking at references for DISM, the problem is it's a different animal within PowerShell. There are differences in terms of the options. The most straightforward approach is just to use the command prompt, and that's what we're going to focus on today. One of the tricks that is often required is that after you download an MSU file from the update website. So let's look at where we are right now. We have we basically entered a simple search string. We wanted updates for Server 2019. So this is what I entered into update cab files for Microsoft Server 2019, and the version is 1809. So this is from September of 2019. And you see that one of the references that came up was from the update catalog. And from the update catalog, you see that there were 4 that were listed, 3 for Windows 10 and 1 for Server 2019. when I click on the Server 2019 option to download it, and it's a 380 megabyte file, basically this screen comes up. And you would think at first, wait a minute, it didn't get what I was interested in. I want everybody to see here that it says Windows 10, knowledge base article 4601345. So that references what kind of update it is. The knowledge base number is the most important to reference when you want to apply a specific fix, a specific update, a specific cumulative upgrade, or even a feature update. They'll be labeled by knowledge base number. And in this case, one of the most important things to understand is that quite often the kernel of the Windows 10 operating system and the Server 2019 operating system are so similar that updates often work on both operating systems. So even though I clicked on the Server 2019 option, and you see Server 2019 right here, it's giving me the MSU for Windows 10. And once that's finished downloading, quite often you would change the MSU ending and rename it CAB. In some cases, some updates simply won't post. So after you download the MSU file, you're going to change the name to CAB, and then you're going to issue a very simple command. So it's going to be dism.exe, and then it'll be a /image, and then this is the path to the image directory. The path to the image directory I was looking at just a moment ago, before I mounted this, was here. And what we need to do is have all of this information along with this path. The best way to do that is to simply click into the line up here so that it gives you the text path, and I use Control-C, and I'll open up Notepad here, and I'll paste this in, and I'll add a backslash, and then I click on this and copy this. Then I can add the .iso ending. This is how I determined the path of the image file for use in the command option that's shown on this page. Now, just as there are two different versions of DISM, I guess there's two different modes of working with DISM. When we're applying it to an ISO file that isn't running, so this ISO file is an image file, and it's not running. It's offline. That's called offline. This is an offline update. The mode we're using is offline. There's also an online. So you can use DISM to apply an update to a running operating system. And this is really useful because there are times where you don't want to have to log in. You don't want to have to basically want to apply the update. You don't want to run updates off of the menu, because if you do this, oftentimes you have to wait for everything to load. Of course, this is always pulling from the internet unless you have WSUS running. Sometimes the optional updates that you're looking for aren't the driver updates that you need. So there's all sorts of reasons why using the regular graphical options here are just not a good way to go. And if you want to work more efficiently, you basically find that a system's in a good operational state. Usually you use commands like this when a system is in a good operational state to update. In the middle of the business day, it would not be a good operational state to apply an update, especially if it required a reboot, because that would mean that your system would shut down, and then you'd have to restart it, and then everybody's Windows would, their applications may be disrupted. So a live or online or running update is the other mode. The preferred best practice is to apply updates offline, and then they're installed when you load the system, when you install the operating system in the first place. If you have to load it after the fact with a running machine and you're using an online mode, right? So you're basically running this online. There's a different set of command switches that you're using, but you still start the same way. dism.exe/image, and you copy and paste. Here it says online. So it's going to open up the image, and it's going to install that update inside the ISO. But you don't have to use a lot of different servicing options or arguments necessarily. It's a very straightforward process. So, yeah. So here's the basic command. Here's what we use when it's offline. And here's what we use when it's online. Okay. Once again, here's the basic command for the syntax. Here's the command we use when we want to install it direct to the ISO. So I kept highlighting this earlier. That's basically just the syntax for the command in general, but then it's this one that we're using for an offline install. And then you see when we're doing it on a running system, we use a /online switch, and that tells DISM, oh, I'm applying this to a running system. I hope that wasn't too confusing, and I apologize that I kept highlighting this, but basically it's this command for offline, this command for online. Any questions about what we're doing for the command?
No.
Okay. And let's look at where we are with our download. So in my download, I don't see it yet. I have clicked on this. Sometimes you have to right click and open in a new tab. Sometimes browser security features keep you from downloading this thing. I clicked here, got this image. Didn't seem to open in a new tab, and I'm not getting a download. Okay. Well, I will resolve this problem outside of class, but basically I just wanted to show you what we're doing here for the task. I'll go ahead and record a short video that shows the actual use of the command here inside my my ISO, and then you'll be able to see a difference in the ISO. So when I'm finished with when I'm finished updating the ISO, it's no longer going to be this size. It's going to exchange some data files, and so that the final size of the ISO will change as a result of the application of the updates. And then as a final measure, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to install a server with it and see if those updates are already posted inside. So I'll go ahead and finish that process as soon as I get a copy of the 380, let's see, how much was it? 380 megabyte, 381 megabytes. We'll get a copy of that, and then I'll walk through the steps, and then and you'll know how to download this for yourself, and then you can work with your own ISO file. That was all we were going to share today in class. Does anyone have any questions before we conclude our session?
None for me.
Okay, Aaron, did you have any questions about what we're going to do?
No questions, sir.
Okay. Basic command itself is very simple. So this is the online version of the command again. You're going to add a package, and then the package path ends in CAB. So there's one other thing that we put in terms of the command syntax. If we're doing it to a running machine, we use /online, add package, and then package path. And again, DISM is finished running. So once again, the best practice, the best way to do this is simply to run it offline and install it directly to the ISO. So as you're building new machines, you don't have to go through 2 days of downloads, or you don't load down the local traffic with WSUS server updates. That's all we had, so I'll stop sharing and stop recording.